This is a pretty wild development, as we've got some major Lakers news to break down today involving a surprising trade rumor that just hit the market. A fresh report has emerged outlining a potential multi-team deal that could shake things up in Los Angeles. We're going to analyze the details of this proposed trade, what it could mean for the Lakers moving forward, and touch on a few other key updates as the regular season draws near. The NBA season is right around the corner, just a little over a month away, and this is the point where front offices start evaluating whether their roster is truly ready for the grind or if another move is necessary to compete at the highest level. The Lakers currently sit in an interesting position. On one hand, their core looks solid, with stars like LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves leading the charge. On the other hand, there's still room to add depth and balance, especially if the ultimate goal is to contend for a championship in a stacked Western Conference. Recently, a new trade scenario has been floating around the league circles. It's a three-team proposal designed to give the Lakers an additional boost of defense and toughness on the wing while adding a bit more depth overall. According to the report, Los Angeles would acquire Dillon Brooks, Haywood Highsmith, and Nick Richards in exchange for sending out Rui Hachimura, rookie Dalton Knecht, a future first-round pick swap, and another first-rounder. Additionally, Maxi Kleber and a second-round pick would be involved, heading to a third team. At first glance, this is a significant shakeup, so let's break it down step by step. The immediate reaction from many fans might be mixed, because the Lakers would be parting with most of their remaining tradable assets: Rui, Knecht, and draft capital. That's no small price to pay. However, in return, they'd be getting 3 rotation pieces, including a proven playoff competitor in Dillon Brooks. Brooks is clearly the headliner here. Love him or hate him, he brings an edge that few players in today's NBA possess. His defensive intensity and willingness to take on the toughest assignments are well documented. For a Lakers team that sometimes struggles to contain elite wings in a playoff series, adding Brooks could be a game-changer. He's coming off a season where he played 75 games, averaged 14 points per contest, and hit 40% of his threes, numbers that show he's more than just a defensive specialist. Nick Richards also adds value as a strong backup center option. While Los Angeles does have Jackson Hayes, Richards brings length, rebounding, and rim protection, important qualities for a team that may need additional size in certain matchups. Haywood Highsmith, meanwhile, is an underrated piece who can provide spot minutes and defensive versatility across multiple positions. The big question is whether this trade makes sense compared to what the Lakers are giving up. Rui Hachimura has been a strong contributor since arriving in Los Angeles, offering size, mid-range scoring, and energy off the bench. Knecht, while unproven at the NBA level, has upside as a shooter and scorer. Losing both, along with draft assets, is a major commitment. Still, the argument for making this move centers around fit and immediate impact. The Lakers have been searching for reliable depth and defensive toughness, and this deal arguably addresses both concerns in one stroke. From a roster-building perspective, imagine a lineup featuring Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Dillon Brooks, and Marcus Smart, all on the same team. That combination brings an intriguing mix of shot creation, playmaking, and hard-nosed defense. The Lakers have struggled in recent seasons to maintain balance between offensive firepower and defensive stability, but a move like this could help restore that equilibrium. Of course, there's another layer to consider: how this impacts the other teams involved, particularly Phoenix, which would receive cap relief and additional draft assets as part of the arrangement. But for Los Angeles, the real takeaway is this: depth and versatility have been the missing pieces in their recent playoff exits, and this trade could finally address those weaknesses. Now, would you make this move if you were in Rob Pelinka's shoes? Does Dillon Brooks's impact justify giving up Rui and key future assets? These are the big questions hovering over this rumor as the offseason winds down. From Phoenix's perspective, this deal would create some breathing room financially, while adding a few intriguing pieces for the future. They'd take on Rui Hachimura, who could either stay as a rotational forward or become a trade asset closer to the deadline. If Phoenix decides to pivot or retool mid-season, Rui's expiring contract makes him a flexible piece to flip for additional picks. They'd also bring in Dalton Knecht, a promising young shooter who could earn consistent minutes in their rotation, especially given the Suns' need for floor spacing around their star core. On top of that, the inclusion of a 2031 first-round pick and a 2030 pick swap offers long-term value, something Phoenix hasn't had much of since going all in for Kevin Durant. So, from a roster-building perspective, this is an appealing trade for the Suns. They gain future draft capital, financial flexibility, and a couple of assets they can either develop or move later. But let's bring it back to the Lakers, because at the end of the day, this entire discussion boils down to one critical question. Does Dillon Brooks and Nick Richards give Los Angeles a bigger advantage than Rui Hachimura and the current roster construction? The answer isn't simple. Brooks undoubtedly brings defensive intensity and postseason toughness, qualities that have defined his reputation in the NBA. His willingness to guard elite scorers is something that could be invaluable in a playoff series. Richards, meanwhile, would provide front-court depth as a rim protector and rebound, a solid insurance policy behind DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes. However, there's the issue of fit. With Maxi Kleber leaving in this scenario, the Lakers lose some of their stretch big capability. Richards doesn't space the floor. He's more of a traditional big, which could affect offensive spacing when he's on the court. Is it worth giving up 2 first-round picks, a promising rookie like Knecht, and a reliable contributor in Hachimura? That's the dilemma for Los Angeles. If this was a cheaper deal, the Lakers might jump on it without hesitation, but, as constructed, it feels like an overpay unless they view Brooks as the missing link for a title push. It's also important to remember that this trade couldn't happen immediately. Because Brooks was recently moved, league rules would prevent him from being traded again until mid-October, right around the start of training camp. That means if this were to materialize, it would happen late in the offseason when teams are finalizing rotations. For now, the likelihood of this scenario playing out seems slim, but it sparks a fascinating conversation about where the Lakers stand and whether they should continue exploring aggressive moves. Current reports suggest Los Angeles plans to stand pat for now, heading into training camp with their current roster and evaluating later in the season if adjustments are needed. Still, these rumors aren't random. They reflect the reality that front offices keep doors open for creative deals deep into the off-season. Shifting gears slightly, it's worth discussing the broader Western Conference picture because it ties into whether this type of move is even necessary. Recently, Michael Porter Jr. made headlines with comments that stirred some debate among fans. In an interview, he reflected on past matchups with the Lakers, saying, "I used to love those series against LA. The atmosphere was electric, and their fan base always believed they could beat us, but they never did." Whether this was meant as a jab or just an honest observation, it highlights a bigger truth. The Nuggets have consistently had the upper hand in recent years. That leads us to an important question. Where do the Lakers rank among the top teams in the West right now? Teams like the Nuggets and Warriors are both at critical crossroads. Golden State is facing big decisions with an aging Steph Curry core, while Denver, despite losing Porter Jr. in a recent trade, still has Nikola Jokic, arguably the best player in the league, and added Cam Johnson to offset the loss. Add in powerhouses like Minnesota, OKC, and even Sacramento, and the path to the finals is as competitive as ever. So, Lakers fans, where do you currently place this team in the Western Conference hierarchy? Do they crack your top 3? Are they closer to the middle of the pack? Drop your projected 1-8 seedings, or even 1-10 to include the play-in, and explain why. This is where the debate gets fun, because while the Lakers' roster has improved, adding Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia, for example, there are still questions about depth, chemistry, and whether a big swing like the Dillon Brooks deal would truly elevate them into contender status. As for me, I think the Lakers are better than they were last season. The addition of defensive-minded players alongside Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves gives them more balance, but the gap between them and teams like Denver isn't small. That's why rumors like this matter. They show just how aggressive the Lakers might need to be if they want to reach the mountaintop again.